I'm Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I'm Curtis Jones.
I am Cody Gakpo.
Putting on the Liverpool top for the first time, it was a dream come true, and I'll never forget that moment.
The new LFC 24-25 season Nike home kit is out now.
Buy it today, along with our new goalkeeper kit and training range at your official LFC stores. Online at liverpoolfc.com/store and on the official LFC store app.
You will never walk alone.
Another day is here, and you're ready for it. What to wear? Check. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Check. Planning for what's next and how to save for it? That's where Bank of America can help. For your financial to-dos, Bank of America has experts ready to help get you closer to your goals. Get started at one of our local financial centers or 24/7 in our mobile banking app. Find a location near you at bankofamerica.com/talktous. What would you like the power to do? Mobile banking requires downloading the app and is only available for select devices. Message and data rates may apply. Bank of America N.A., member FDIC.
We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end...
What will I become?
Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to Molby On The Spot, your chance, thanks to Anfield Index Pro, to hear the wit and wisdom of Mr. Jan Molby. And I'm delighted to reintroduce him to you again. Good evening, Jan.
Good evening, Trevor. How are things in Ireland? All good?
All good, sunny, and I have a week of work left because that's the best part about my job is June, July and August. And I intend to lean into them, sir, and do a few other bits.
Do you have a footballer summer, do you, Trevor?
I have a footballer summer. That's exactly what I have.
They don't do that anymore, do they? But my record at Liverpool was 9 weeks.
Oh, wow.
9 weeks summer.
And can we clarify for folks, because they won't quite get this, when you were doing 9 week summers, you didn't really have to think about anything in relation to checking in with the club or hitting the app and making sure that your fitness level was here or your intake was there. It was 9 weeks right off.
Be back 37 days before the first game of the season. Yeah, which was always a Thursday morning. So you had Thursday, Friday, Saturday to get yourself in, Sunday off, and then you started for real on a Monday. So what I did do, Trevor, because, and this is when I was single on my own. So as soon as the season finished, drove down to a port called Harwich, got the ferry across to Esbjerg, 19 hours, and drove to my mum and dad's and stayed there for 9 weeks. But what I did do, because the Danish season was still going, so I used to train with the lads that I used to play with, but they were only part-time, but I used to train with them 3 times a week, which was more than enough to keep your fitness ticking over. Yeah. But it also kept me ahead of most of the others that, I mean, I'd have loved to follow Steve Nicol for 9 weeks, you know what I mean? That would have been something else, so I can assure you. But yeah, that's how it was in those days. Well, everybody were the same. You know, I used to meet up with some of the other Danish footballers who played outside of Denmark, and it didn't whether you played in Holland, Germany, Belgium, whatever. It was all the same. Go back to Denmark. Most of them had a summer house by the coast. Do 2, 3, 7, 8 weeks, whatever it was. Go back to work. Whereas now, I don't know what do you think they'll have to do? I mean, the first few weeks, the ones who don't go to the Euros or whatever else, will probably have to do 2 or 3 days, stepping it up to probably 5 days. in the last 2 weeks before they come back for pre-season. So yeah, things have changed, that's for sure.
The going home thing actually is interesting. I assume going home and training, and you get to feel like, okay, I'm keeping it ticking over. But the other side of going home, and I know this from having interviewed so many of the Irish legends who played in the Premier League, going home was also carnage, because you were going out with your pals as well. You were doing the full weekend out with your pals. You could have a midweek night if you wanted. Nobody gave a shit. You're at home, you're hidden. And again, even the media exposure wasn't anything like it is now. You weren't being watched at the same level, especially for yourself if you're going home to the hometown. Lads who came from Cork or whatever in the 80s, and they'd go back to Cork, nobody's watching them. They can get away with whatever they want to do, and they did. And actually, it wasn't even frowned upon yet. It was kind of half expected. You're a young man, you'll be out on the lash once you keep yourself ticking over with the training. I assume it was very similar temptations there for you. Like when you got home, it's, well, I'm here with my pals, what am I going to do?
Yeah, I mean, most of the things I did was to do with social events. I mean, even when I used to go and train with the boys, and they used to train from 5:30 to 7:30. So it was after work, 5:30, 7:30. We'd have a shower, and then we'd go down to the town, and we'd have a few beers. And the lads, even the married lads in the team, their excuse was Jan Zone. All the girlfriends and wives go, okay, Jan Zone, yeah, okay, yeah. So we go out and have a few beers with Jan, isn't it? But during the week, it would always only be a couple of beers. But then weekends, certainly Friday and Saturday was, it was seeing old friends, wasn't it? Had some great fun, Trev, I have to say. Great fun. I mean, I've always enjoyed that aspect of it, isn't it? Meeting up with old pals, there's nothing like it. And, within 5 minutes, you slot back into all the stories and whatever. It's a great time. We're off track here, Trevor.
Not at all, buddy. That's what this show is all about, getting your take on things. And I've literally come from exactly one of those few days, and it is a tremendous thing to do. I guess you probably feel a bit sorry, do you, for the modern pro, that there's no leeway at all. I mean, you don't get to be a young man in the way that, say, you and I did at that age. I think it's a real sacrifice.
Yeah, and I always sense, maybe not so much at Ajax, because Ajax was different. Ajax was always a springboard. Ajax was a springboard for almost everybody. So
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mag boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
This is really, really important for you to be able to go on. And then you come to Liverpool, and I always sense that there was a feeling at the club that these are young men, and we can't take everything away from them because the financial rewards are not such. So we got to give them a life, and we've got to allow them to become personalities and whatever. And so you always sense that the club kind of went, had we been paying you 250 grand a year, £5,000 a week, instead of what we were getting, £1,000, £1,200, £1,400 a week, they might have been a bit stricter. But I think I thought, well, the reward, yes, compared to the average man is great, isn't it? But in terms of what you can do in life after, it isn't so great, isn't it? So I think they always went, no, we got to allow them a life. Give them a life, you know what I mean? So, and that's what we did. And I say this every time we do anything, Trevor, but don't forget, certainly for my first 6 years at Anfield, we'd have been as good a team as almost anywhere in the world. And equally, we played as many games as you do today. The 85-86 record of 63 games was only beaten 2 years ago by a Liverpool team. So we played as many games. Tempo might have been different in it, but so was the fitness system. So, anyway, there's my take on that. So,
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that about the comparative thing, because people are way too dismissive about how, it's so different now and the lads are so much fitter. We've brought this up before, and it's just good. It's great to hear it said and get it reiterated, because people can be very lazy in their assessments, but we won't be lazy in our assessment of the season review. We have a kind of a structure here that we've been asking people to follow in terms of working through a few questions, and that'll give us a bit of shape for our chat here. And I guess the first one is, did you have a favourite match of the season and a least favourite match of the season? And as a fella who gets to see an awful lot of them right up close and personal, I presume there's a few who are springing into your mind. If you had to go for your favourite and your least favourite games over the course of the campaign, what would they have been?
Well, I think my favourite game is probably the Newcastle game on the 1st of January at Anfield. I thought it was everything. It kind of summed up Klopp's time at Liverpool. At that time we didn't know he was leaving, but that kind of summed it up. Well, if you look back at a game that season and go, what's Klopp's time been all about? I felt that was it. There were other good performances. I thought we played well against Aston Villa at home early in the season when we beat them 3-0, but Villa didn't play particularly well. I also thought we were terrific in the second half against Manchester City at Anfield. Unbelievable we didn't beat them, ended 1-1. But no, my favourite game was the Newcastle game. I thought that was really good. Although, and when we talk on in a little bit, I also like the Chelsea game. And I like the Chelsea game for one particular reason. Again, you can kind of point the finger at Chelsea and go, they didn't play particularly well, isn't it? But, I think it was a very significant game in last season, certainly for me anyway, because you always look forward, don't you, Trev, and you go, what can we take from this season? I don't necessarily think there's an awful lot we can take from this season, but I'm sure your next question or the question after, I'll be able to answer that, but we'll keep you in suspense for the time being.
Yes, I know you're going with this Chelsea thing, because it was my favourite game, and obviously I'm saying that because I got to be at it, but it was hugely impressive, as impressive as I've seen Liverpool live in recent years. So that, I think I know where you're going. However, there is a flip side, of course, Jan.
It's least favourite.
So which one did you have the least enjoyment at? Sadly, there's a few here, right?
Yeah, there is. Yeah. So obviously the Luton away game. I think right the way through the season, when teams didn't put Luton away, and that includes, Liverpool who drew there and Arsenal who won in the last minute 4-3, whatever. I couldn't fathom that, because I'm going that the difference in quality is so vast that this just can't be right. So I wasn't a big fan of that. I wasn't a big fan of the Crystal Palace game at home either when we lost 0. The biggest disappointment was probably the 0-0 at home against Manchester United. At a time where I thought, wow, and they were without.
I'm Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I'm Curtis Jones.
I am Cody Gakpo.
Putting on the Liverpool top for the first time, it was a dream come true, and I'll never forget that moment.
The new LFC 24-25 season Nike home kit is out now.
Buy it today, along with our new goalkeeper kit and training range at your official LFC stores. Online at LiverpoolFC.com/store and on the official LFC store app.
You will never walk alone.
We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end...
What will I become? Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
They were without their most important player in Bruno Fernandes, so that was a real disappointment. But the flagship of performances, Trevor, was a Goodison Park. That was the one where we've all been there, kind of thing, and we're maybe not playing well, but today is different. Today has to be different because we're playing Everton. and it wasn't. So as much as I spoke about the Newcastle game being everything, what Jurgen Klopp was about is that would be one game where you go, who the fuck was our manager that day? Because he had nothing to do with Jurgen Klopp football, did it? There was nothing about Jurgen Klopp that day, so, and it was a game where I felt a bit for him because it's kind of on your doorstep, isn't it? Had it been away in Europe or whatever, it's kind of on your doorstep, wasn't it? And, at that time we knew Klopp was leaving, and I think a lot of people would have probably preferred a sort of happy ending to Klopp's very successful spell against Everton, but it wasn't. So yeah, I thought the Everton. I thought it was borderline embarrassing, Trevor. That's how I felt at the time.
That's the one. That's the feeling I had after. I was mortified. We saw the wheels come off against Atalanta, and it was like, maybe you can put it down to a one-off. Like, what the fuck happened there? But But don't you think, Trevor? If you look at what Atalanta has achieved, so they're going to finish fourth in Serie A, and Serie A, to be fair, is bouncing back. It's become a quite strong league, and what they did on the day, they got it tactically right, and when they get it right, it was proven when they played Leverkusen. Right. There's no way out of it, is it? No, it's hugely effective. Yeah. Exactly. So, yes, it was disappointing, and it was shocking that we could lose like that at home, isn't it? But I just look and I go, that was more about Atalanta than us, and whereas at Goodison, it was more about us than what it was against Everton. And I fully understand there'll be people who have different views on this, but I just think that, yes, you can never defend a 3-0 home defeat in Europe at Anfield, but I can look back and go, yeah, okay, at that time, not playing particularly well, and then tactically being unbelievably and getting it right. I really want to chat to you at some stage about what's going on around the league in general with the managerial changes, both in the Premier League and in Europe. It's quite a story, but we'll stick to the formula for now. We might come back around to that, but we always do like to have a united chat here. And the last couple of days, even the stories I'm hearing are very, very strange, but we'll keep to our formula. We'll get through that first. The next one I have for you is basically what your initial reaction to the news of Jurgen going was, because I think we all have a sort of a take on that. It's not quite like where were you on the moon landing or whatever it is for that generation, but for us, you and I had the conversation about how it wasn't dissimilar to the footage we've seen of people reacting to Shankly going. I think it was particularly shocking, wasn't it? Because we had felt the season before the lad looked a bit burnt out, and you wouldn't have been surprised to hear something in that season, perhaps. But there was a reinvigoration. There was a newfound enthusiasm. It really came out of left field, Jan, when he did say it. I certainly was intensely shocked by it. And I got into a mode immediately, which was... I had no emotional reaction to it at all, and all the stuff that's happened over the last couple of weeks, Jan, all the chat about how great Jurgen was, all the lovely tributes, all the beautiful things that we saw of him opening presents from fans and stuff. I've watched it all and had almost no emotional reaction. I don't know if that's just I'm protecting myself or whatever, but I can't engage with it. But when I heard the news first thing I went into was a sort of a stoic acceptance. Shit, right, now we have to get on with it. And all I was worried about was whether the season would go to shit or not. I didn't think about it long term. What did you think when you heard first Jurgen Klopp is leaving Liverpool? Because it was a kick in the face. Do you know what they always used to say to us, the backroom staff at Anfield? Always expect the unexpected, yeah. Right, time ago. Yeah, but honestly, you go, oh, for fuck's sake, shut up. It's just said it all the time. You can see the goal and go, what's it? I mean, so in terms of all the, I'm a bit like you, what I'm trying to say is that you've kind of seen it all, Trevor, haven't you? And with most things, so a couple of weeks ago, Jim Proudfoot, who works for TalkSport, I had a coffee with him on the grounds, and he goes, do you know what? De Zerbi's unhappy at Brighton. And I went, yeah, okay, but what does that mean? He said, I think he's going to walk out. And I go, nah, you don't just walk out, do you, Trevor? At Wembley for the FA Cup semi-final, Manchester United Coventry, one of the BBC guy goes,
I think Pochettino's had enough. You know, he can't get the power he wants. He can't get the... He doesn't have to say he wants... I think he's going to... And you go, nah, it can't fucking happen. You know what I mean? So even when I had a little stare, I still didn't believe it was going to happen. So with Jurgen Klopp having decided to extend his contract at Liverpool, there is no way in a million years anyone could have got me to believe that he was going to walk before his contract was up. Even if somebody said to me on the 25th, the day before, 25th of January, I think Klopp's going to screw it, I'd have gone, no fucking way. You know, so my reaction when I heard it was...
Hello, I'm here to annoy you. I'm here to annoy you into listening to more of me and more of others on EPL Index. We don't just have the Anfield Index stuff. We've got EPL Index as well, which covers the entirety of the Premier League. And we have 3 podcasts and a whole bunch of really good writing on EPLindex.com. The podcasts are my own two-footed podcast, which is every day at 4 p.m, Monday through Friday, covering the whole league. We have A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. You know Tadiwa, he does Anfield Index. He presents A Tad Predictable before every Premier League match week. And then Kevin DeVries and his crew on the EPL Roundtable, they're every week after the Premier League match week. So make sure you listen to everything we're doing on EPL Index and follow us there on Twitter at EPL Index. Thank you. Bye-bye.
First and foremost, this is a wind-up. You know what you're capable of in artificial intelligence. You're capable of so many things in the world today. And I thought, this is a wind-up. This has to be a wind-up. But then obviously pretty clear became it is not. And then I was a bit like you. Okay, what happens now? And I'm like that now, Trevor, where I need to move on. You know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of done with Klopp. Not in a negative way, but I need to move on. You know, and Arne, where are you? You know what I mean? I need to see more of Arne. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
not enough him going to a Michelin-star restaurant just outside Liverpool and having a picture with the owner or the chef. That's not enough. I now need to see Arne. I need to hear Arne because that's the way to go forward, isn't it? So my thoughts on the 26th of January were, okay, what's next? You know, and then obviously, again, that became pretty clear, didn't it? That, you know, Alonso would have been the choice of so many people. But since then, we've learned that there probably was never, ever going to be a job offer for Alonso from Liverpool. And Ruben Amorim was another one who was quickly dismissed. So here we are. Yeah. So my first thought was this is a wind-up. Then there was disappointment. But again, we've seen it all happen with each other, you know. So that little bit of disappointment. And then immediately thinking, well, okay, how do we go on? Because we've now got the taste for real, haven't we? We had a little taster from Gerard Houllier. We had a little taster from Rafa. Brendan Rodgers got to saying they would taste us, weren't they? But we've got the taste now with Klopp, haven't we? You know, what does it mean? Even for our younger fans, isn't it? You know what I mean? What does it mean? This is what it's like, isn't it? This is what it's like to be part of it, you know, being part of, you know, challenging for trophies and whatever. So we've got a taste for that. So the only thing I can think of now is how do we move on and how do we make sure that we stay challenged? And I agree with you, Trev. I don't think we should give this fella leeway in that this is a project. It's not a project. Klopp did the project, you know, and he got the time to do the project. But then once you put your foot down and you sign Alisson and Van Dijk and you get into Champions League final, fuck, you're there, aren't you? Then there's no way back.
Yeah, project is afoot. Interesting that the two greybeards' reaction was, yeah, what's next? It's just, you can't be sentimental. There's so much, when you've got a bit of, I suppose, history, you've got a bit of water under the bridge, as they say. Our next question that we wanted to talk about here, and I think this is where you were sort of making a connection earlier on with the Chelsea game. I could be wrong. I'm just going to go out on a limb here. If you were to pick out a player and a young player of the year from the season just gone, and like obviously it was a bit compromised. We had some absences. We had some guys who are senior players who you would expect perhaps would have done better and maybe didn't. But we did very, very much. And this is what's going to make the second one, the young player of the year. We had a load of breakthroughs in a very impressive way. Like not just sort of you see Ben Doak try to beat 5 men and you go, well, that's the lad has something about him. These were lads who came in and they were really, really outstanding. So senior player and young player of the year for you.
So I always go back to the Harry Wilson and what was the boy who scored, was the youngest goal scorer at the time, Ben Woodburn.
Ben Woodburn, yeah.
That day, Ben Woodburn and Harry Wilson, and there was a bit of people going on after the game and you go, yeah, but still, what I've seen from these two boys is their careers can go either way. And I think Ben Woodburn's career probably has, whereas Harry Wilson's found his feet in the Premier League with Fulham. So we start with the young player of the year, and that day against Chelsea when we beat them 4-1, I think it was just you hammer a big nail into this boy. Conor Bradley is for real, and it's not very often you see that, Trevor, where you go, okay, now I've seen him play 3 or 4 times, but I can tell you this is for real, so he has to be the young player of the year, although there was others who did well, but nobody near the level. And I come back to our friend again, Arne Slot. I can't wait. What do you do with Bradley and Trent? How do you solve that one? Because both of them are too good not to play. They can't both play right back, that's for sure. So that's another thing I can't wait. I can't wait to see how he solves that.
In one particular way he might solve it is relates right back to a little clip from you from our show last week that went all over the shop, very popular, where you were talking about pinging fucking balls all over Spain, because that might be the simple solution and get a whole lot of money into the club, but no one really wants to hear about Trent going anywhere. So that's that. If you had to pick someone from the senior category, like overall club player of the year, who is that for you?
Yeah, I think it's difficult, Trevor. I think it's really difficult. So obviously, Mo, you'll be able to defend his season based on stats and go, listen, the boys there again with his goals and his assists. I thought Alexis McAllister had some really good games where you see the player that he potentially is, but I'm not sure he did enough over the season. Endo surprised me, not quite enough to be player of the year. Van Dijk did really well for long spells, but our problem always with Van Dijk is, and this is unfair, and we've all suffered from it, Trevor, is that Van Dijk isn't the Van Dijk from 4 years ago. So there's always a little dampener. Yes, Van Dijk's playing well, but he isn't playing as well as 4 years ago, is he? And when I say we've all suffered, because they say that about everybody, isn't it? John Barnes is great, but he's not as great as he was in 87, is he? So I'm actually tempted to think that the biggest surprise, and I'm delighted for the boy, is Joe Gomez. I think Joe's done really well. Unexpected. He's managed to come into the team and do really well. He's got himself a recall for the England squad. Whether he makes the final 26 or not, I don't know. And I think generally, in 90% of the games he's played, he's probably done better than what could have been expected. And probably, if anything, played better as a left back in the so I'd go Joe Gomez. I go Joe Gomez and Conor Bradley. That would be
I love those. Love those two shirts. Love those two shirts.
That would be my 2 shirts.
The ongoing thing of the summer, and by the way, the last category that we've been asking people is to talk about podcasts you've enjoyed taking part in over the year. And obviously, you and I do this one, and that's your one for the channel. So I'm not going to be putting you on the spot about that. But one thing that you and I will be talking about over the course of the summer, because, if we do a show, it's going to be the topic that everyone wants to talk about, which is incoming and outgoing. That it's the thing that drives people's interest more than anything else. And so that's a segue into our next question, which is we have a few lads who are obviously, I think, key figures and have been in Mo Salah, in Trent and in Virgil. We have contract situations which need to be addressed pretty quickly, because you're looking at a situation where within a year you could have fellas who are hugely highly rated talents leaving for no transfer fee. And each of them are individual different situations and there are different rumours about them, and you may feel that there's a different reason or not reason to keep them around. If you were to talk about the contracts for each of those guys, for Mo, for Trent, and for Virgil, do you have any kind of preference about renewing the contract, selling the guys on, and making a war chest for Arne Slot to reinvest? Do you have any particularly strong feelings about those three guys in particular?
Can I just ask you a question here, Trevor?
Yeah.
Has, on all the podcasts you do, have you kind of come to any conclusion why we've ended up in this situation with those three players having 12 months left on their contracts?
That's a very interesting one. And I think one of the things that I've heard a lot of people say, and the thing that it was the question that occurred to me as well, Jan, and I wonder if it's a part of an indicator as to why we are now in a massive regime change at Anfield, because maybe things had segued across in terms of power and control to Jurgen Klopp in a way that perhaps wasn't as cynical and ruthless from a financial perspective as it had been in the past. Because if the Michael Edwards situation that we're looking forward to now, where he's back and he's got his lieutenants around him, if it's going to be anything, you assume, it's going to be cynical and it's going to be bottom line finances. And this doesn't seem to make any sense where we find ourselves now. And so we have these conversations, and I'm sure you've been part of them. Do you let Mo Salah stay for a year, get the best out of him, and then say, shake hands and walk away? And I find myself saying, who the fuck is doing that when you've got an asset there that could be worth a couple of $100 million? Or is it just simply you get his ridiculously high wages off the books and you cash in on the asset in terms of taking advantage of it for the last year of the contract? I don't know, Jan. It's all very cold, and I think I agree with you. It's silly that we're here.
Yeah, it is very, very, very silly. I mean, obviously Mo's the interesting one, because we're led to believe, maybe more so than the other two, that Mo's camp has no interest in selling, or Liverpool selling Mo with 12 months left on his contract, when in 12 months' time all that money might be going to him. Also, a problem with Mo is that, how does that conversation go where you sit down and you go, okay, let's talk about a new contract? If you consider the money he's earning now, and the money he's earning now, he's earned the right to earn that. There can be no doubt about that. And then also you've got, okay, so what is Mohamed Salah's valuation? Do we incorporate Saudi Arabia? Are they part of it? Do we need convincing that they're going to go again in the summer? Because it's now 10, 12 months ago since they last had a go, but they didn't do anything in the winter months. So is that part of it? So if Saudi Arabia is part of it, then Mo Salah is worth 100 million plus. But if we take Saudi Arabia out of it, if that's no longer a possibility, what is he worth then? So what would I do? Yeah, I think it's a tough call, isn't it, Trevor? I think I'd be reluctant to give him a new contract. I have to be honest. How you make that call where somebody at Anfield goes, we're not in a position where we want to offer Mo a new contract. We've decided that he's for sale. What a fucking big call that is, isn't it? Somebody's going to make that call, isn't it? In terms of Trent is tricky, isn't it? You know, as much as he's local, he's not Steven Gerrard in that he's achieved almost everything with Liverpool, and he might fancy somewhere else. So again, it's a difficult one. It just looks like a typical Real Madrid move. Run his contract down, he's on a free, and he goes to Real Madrid. Virgil van Dijk is also at that crossroad in terms of his age. You know, again, how does that conversation go when you sit down and go, Virgil, we'd like to give you another, maybe it's just 1 year. Because a lot of football clubs, big clubs, do that when the players get in their 30s. The only thing I will say is that I find it difficult. But I had the same problem with Steven Gerrard and Jamie Carragher left. I find it difficult to see a Liverpool team without Virgil, without that presence. You know, Because even now, and even when he came back from his injury, and even when he maybe hasn't been quite himself, you still feel so much more comfortable when he's on the pitch than when he's not. So Virgil is a real tricky one. I think you get 2 more years out of Virgil. I think there's a possibility you could sit down with him and go, come on. But yeah, it's difficult. It's really, really difficult. But as you said before, it'll be cynical, it'll be cold. But it served us well in the past because you go back to, Szoboszlai and David Nunez and the money we spend on those two. And I think Michael Edwards is going to go, this is how we do things. We do things different. We find players where we pay premium for both of them.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
I'm Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I'm Curtis Jones.
I am Cody Gakpo.
Putting on the Liverpool top for the first time, it was a dream come true, and I'll never forget that moment.
The new LFC 24-25 season Nike home kit is out now.
Buy it today, along with our new goalkeeper kit and training range at your official LFC stores. Online at LiverpoolFC.com/store and on the official LFC store app.
You will never walk alone.